Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. I'm the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to one of the favorite gun ranges of mine. It's the Texas Gun Experience here in Grapevine, Texas. You have on my one side is Kimmy and also Brad, and Brad's a former Marine. And I just want to talk about some of the comments that have been made recently and how it affects our Second Amendment rights, and also the support that I have for House Bills 1911 and House Bill 1927, which have to do with constitutional carry, which is one of the legislative priorities for the Republican Party of Texas. But first and foremost, I just want to share with you a simple story. On 31 July 1982, I took my oath of office as a commissioned officer in the United States Army, and it said that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any purpose of evasion or mental reservation, so help me God. Now, this facility, this incredible business that we're in, Texas Gun Experience, well, the co-owners of this Texas Gun Experience are also men who took that oath. Joseph and Jared Stanier. One was a United States Army soldier, the other a United States Marine. And when we think about the words that were uttered last week, when Joe Biden said that no amendment is absolute, that is very disturbing, that is very disconcerting to us that have taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Because if no amendment is absolute, if there is a belief in Washington, D.C. that by a stroke of the pen they can get rid of our constitutional rights, then ask yourself, how long will it be before a person that wants to go into a church service has to show a permit for their freedom of religion? Or how about a permit or a Mother May I for freedom of speech or freedom of expression or the freedom to assemble? Or you members of the press that are here, can any of you show me your permit, your grant from the federal government for your freedom of the press? No. You have that because it is enshrined in this simple little document, the Constitution of the United States of America, our rule of law. And when I think about the fact that someone would say that our constitutional amendments, of which the first 10 are called the Bill of Rights, our individual Bill of Rights, are not absolute, then what happens with our Fourth Amendment? As a matter of fact, when Joe Biden was standing up there talking about national red flag laws, that's not just an infringement on your Second Amendment right, that's also an infringement on your Fourth Amendment right. And as you know right now in the Supreme Court, they're hearing the case about allowing law enforcement to go into homes without a warrant and seize legal, law-abiding citizens' weapons. You know, that's not the America that so many of us took an oath to support and defend. Now, when you look at this thing called constitutional carry, it's very simple. If we don't have to have permits for any of our First Amendment rights, if a state does not have to have a permit for its 10th Amendment right, which says that those powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and to the people, then why is it that we have to have a permit for our Second Amendment rights? See, the important thing is that if you are a law-abiding citizen, if you come here to Texas Gun Experience and you pick out a weapon that you would like to purchase, Kimmy and Brad are going to sit down with you and you're going to have to go through a BATF Form 4473, which is your background check. If you don't pass the background check, you don't get that firearm. But if you pass the background check, then that firearm is yours. And here in the state of Texas, we should not have to ask for a permit to carry the firearm that we are legally able to have because of our constitutional right. Now, if a person wants to get a license to carry because they want to have reciprocity with another state if you leave out of the state of Texas, that's a different story. But no one should have to have a permit to have their Second Amendment right. And if we continue to go down that path and understand that in front of Texas are 20 to 21 other states that have already passed constitutional carry. As a matter of fact, within the last week, Iowa, Tennessee, and Arkansas have passed constitutional carry. Now, there are some out there that are saying that, hey, Colonel, at this day and time, we see too much gun violence that is out there. Just remember that what happened in Boulder, Colorado, here was an individual on the FBI watch list. How was that individual able to pass a 4473 background check? Obviously, there's a breakdown in the system. And in the state of Colorado, they have some of the most stringent gun control laws. As a matter of fact, in Colorado, they already have red flag laws. And in the city of Boulder, you have some of the most restrictive gun control laws. And as a matter of fact, that grocery chain is part of the Kroger grocery chain store system. You're not allowed to carry a firearm in a Kroger grocery store and its affiliate chains. So guess what? When you create laws that tell people what they can and can't do as far as being a legal, law-abiding firearm owner, the only people that are going to obey those laws are the legal firearm owners. But if you think about what has happened across the United States of America, if you really want to have a heart-to-heart discussion about gun violence and crime on the streets, just look at Austin, Texas, where they defunded the police force in Austin, Texas by some $150 million, if I'm correct. And you've seen a 63% increase in violent crime in Austin, Texas. Or just look right here, not too far away, in the city of Dallas, where we have a district attorney by the name of John Creuzot that is releasing criminals onto the streets. And the exact same thing is also happening down in Houston and Harris County with the district attorney down there, Kim Ogg. So at a time when we have people on the Democrat side of the aisle that are releasing violent criminals onto the streets, at a time when we have people that are saying that we need to defund the police to include defunding ICE, and we have all of these criminal illegal immigrants that are coming across our borders into the state of Texas, then why would anyone say to law-abiding Americans that no amendment is absolute in speaking to the Second Amendment? So who is supposed to take care of defending us? If you don't want us to have police, you don't want us to have ICE, and you're releasing criminals onto the streets, and you have implemented an open borders policy by executive order. I want everyone to understand one single thing. No executive order can take away a constitutional right. And that's what we have to understand, that we live in a constitutional republic, not a constitutional monarchy. Joe Biden is not a king. Kamala Harris is not a queen. They cannot sit down and just sign their names to a piece of paper and take away the right that any American, any Texan has to come into the Texas gun experience and purchase a firearm. And furthermore, we need to have constitutional carry in the state of Texas. It says you do not need a mother may I. You do not need a permit from the government of Texas to have the firearm that our Constitution says that you have a right to keep and bear. So with that being said, what are your questions? Yes, Jack Fink, CBS News 11.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Let me just ask you, as far as a news conference that was held today on the steps of the Capitol by Texas police chiefs, they came out and opposed HB 1911, which you're championing. They say they're concerned that with rising crime, this is going to reduce safety, and that people who vote have to take education classes, people who cut hair have to get licenses. So what is your answer to that?
My answer is that to be a barber is not a constitutional right. And furthermore, when you talk about a police chief, I do not have the ability to call 911 and the police chief is going to be right there within a second or two of our call. And so these police chiefs need to go and talk to these district attorneys that continue to release these criminals onto our streets. And so I think that the police chiefs should be more concerned, these chiefs should be more concerned about people talking about defunding their law enforcement agencies. And again, I'm a legal, law-abiding gun owner. And I think that most of the people that come in here to Texas Gun Experience, you see right over there, Training Room 2, Training Room 1, I think that every single person that comes in here to buy a firearm wants to get properly trained on it. But that does not mean that their right to have that firearm and to carry that firearm should be infringed. And that's why we don't need to have permits. We can have constitutional carry. And Jack, let me tell you how facetious this whole thing is. I can openly carry a long gun in the state of Texas without a permit. What does that mean? I can openly carry an 8R-15 in the state of Texas without a permit. You cannot openly carry a handgun in the state of Texas without a permit. Now, when I was in the Army, a drill sergeant would say that's stuck on stupid. I don't know what is their motivation because I stand and believe in the rule of law, and the rule of law is the Constitution. And I think that without a doubt, the Constitution says that any American legal, law-abiding firearms owner that goes through a 4473 background check should be able to have that firearm. I think what these police chiefs should be talking about is making sure that the NICS system, it doesn't fail us anymore, so that people can go in and lie on a 4473 and there's not a red flag that comes up. But the most important thing is that we support our law enforcement, but our law enforcement needs to also understand that those are some very dangerous streets that are out there, because we have people that are releasing criminals onto those streets. And it is my individual right to be able to defend myself and my family. And I hope those police officers will understand that.
Were you trying to say that at King Soopers, if somebody would have had a weapon in there, things would have been different? And that stood out to me.
Well, I think that there's a saying that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And I think the more that we create these gun-free zones and the more that we have these loopholes that are within that background check system, again, I go back to the fact, here was somebody that was on an FBI watch list. How was this individual able to procure a firearm? Just the same as we knew about Jared Loughner in Arizona, who unfortunately shot one of my former congressional colleagues, Gabby Giffords. We knew he had issues with mental health. So I think the real thing that we should be looking at is the mental health issue, making sure that we have a very good and tight NICS background system. And look, they're doing their job here. When people come in, they talk to them, they talk about them going through training, they make sure that they go through and fill out that 4473 form. So everyone that wants to legally own a firearm are doing the right things. But these are the criminals that are out there that are doing the wrong things. And let's stop enabling them.
I did have one other question, and that was how likely do you think it is that HB 1911 and 27 will pass the House and then the Senate when this legislation, similar bills have failed in the past?
I think that this is a different time, without a doubt. I know that this was a legislative priority 2 years ago. But my message to the Republicans in the State House and State Senate, there's a reason why you have a majority of 83 to 67 in the Texas State House and 18 to 13 in the Texas State Senate. And this is the number 4 legislative priority for the Republican Party of Texas. This was voted on last year, and it was also brought up during the state convention. And so we want to see constitutional carry pass. And as I stated once before, 21 other states have passed constitutional carry. So obviously, Bernie Sanders in Vermont, who has constitutional carry, has a right that we don't even have here in Texas. Any other questions? Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Brad.